Hello friends and welcome to the ninth part of the Raichur War series. In this part we will be looking at the Gajasena or the elephant core, which as we have seen is a very essential part. So let's begin with this with further ado, and the next couple of parts will be again focused on the elephant core as well, because I also want to try and explain what they looked like, what was their armor, how they were attired, etc., just to kind of uh, get into that zone of imagining how they would actually look and perform in battle. Okay, so let's get into this without further ado. So this is a fantastic book and I have got my own copy. It's called Horse and Elephant Armor, and it's by Dr. G.N. Pant. Now Dr. G.N. Pant, he was, I think, director of the National Museum in Delhi, um, and he has written quite a few books because his specialization was arms and armor, Indian arms and armor. So I have two of his books. One is Horse and Elephant Armor and Traditional Indian Archery, because I am interested in archery as well. So both the books are fantastic, and he has written a few more books because he has catalogued some of the arms collections in different Indian museums, such as the Salarjung Museum, and obviously the museums in Delhi and quite a few of the regional museums as well. So this is a fantastic book if you're especially interested in Indian historical traditional armor, and what they were called, what they looked like, etc. Then this book is something, kind of a must-have reference. Okay, so quite a weighty book, and I think it retails for around 3,500 rupees in India, and outside India, I think it sells for anywhere between 100 to $150. So definitely worth getting one if you are interested in this kind of stuff. So a lot of images in the next couple of parts of this series, where I focus on the elephant core, I have taken from this book. Some of the images are from my own personal visits to museums, but I'll kind of refer to them. So let's have a look at some interesting things. So this is again taken from Dr. Pant's book, and this is a scene from a panel in the Achyutaraya temple at Hampi in Karnataka, and this shows two elephants kind of engaged in a kushti, or you could say elephant wrestling match, or maybe they are being trained for combat. So I'll talk about this in the latest parts as well. And it does look that they are trained for combat, because one of the elephant riders seems to have some kind of a bow in his hand, and the other one seems to have a gourd in one hand and some kind of weapon in the other. So this might be kind of training for war elephants, because the war elephants typically were the biggest and the strongest and the most powerful of all elephants. So you had a massive class of elephants which was used for usual duties like pulling transport carts and transporting large amount of stuff. But then you also had the cream of the cream, to put it that way, who were used as the war elephants. Okay, so let's have a look at some numbers. Now you can, by this point, you can probably tell that I love statistics and representing everything in charts. So what I try to avoid is the pie charts, which I think are infamous for a lot of reasons. But anyway, so this is the kind of infantry to elephant ratio. Now remember that the elephants were the tanks of that age. Now in modern days, especially in the Indian armies, which kind of are derived from the British Indian Army, a lot of these tank regiments or squadrons, I think they are called squadrons, they are designated as cavalry. But cavalry is the wrong term to use for them, because the correct term is actually, you can call them, a kind of an elephant corps. So this shows the infantry to elephant ratio. So how how many soldiers for one elephant, pretty much like that, in the army. So every army has kind of a ratio of infantry, so the number of people who fight on foot, the number of vehicles, the number of tanks, number of planes, and so on. So it works in a ratio. So we can see the same set of stats which I mined from Mahalingam and Salitore's books, just presented a little bit of different way. So again, I would emphasize, don't take this as some kind of hard and fast kind of thing. This is just easy to comprehend representation. So typically, um, for every elephant, you had roughly around 600 on an average soldiers, infantry soldiers. But in peacetime, the ratio was typically 333 or around 300 to 400 infantry per elephant. Okay, so if you look at Krishnaraya's own personal kind of army, which had around 90,000 fighting men, including cavalry, the number of elephants was 300, so the ratio actually comes to around 417 infantry or fighting men for one elephant. And this is very interesting. Now you get to 1565, which was the Battle of Talikota or Rakshas Dangadi, and because the infantry was roughly around 1.7 or 2 million, so the number of elephants, even though they were huge, it comes to 94. So 94 infantry for one elephant, because the number of elephants were also huge, and these are the numbers given in Ram Raj Bakher. So again, don't know how accurate they are. And if you look at today's tank to infantry ratios, so how many soldiers for one tank roughly? So we look at India's immediate friendly neighbors. So in India, and again I've got this, got all these numbers, especially for India, China, and Pakistan, from an online site. So I'm not sure how accurate they are, because you do get different numbers, but we'll assume that they are roughly accurate. So for India, it's 315 soldiers for one tank. For China, it's 407 soldiers for one tank, so higher infantry to tank ratio, because their army is bigger than us. And for Pakistan, this is very interesting. There are 174 soldiers for one tank, which means the number of tanks they have are very close to India's. Okay, so their armored strength is quite good. And you can see that if we hop back one slide, so if we think of the usual peacetime strength from being 300 to 400 infantry for one elephant, it's not really changed much. Which is why I say that tanks are a natural carryover from the elephants, who were the pretty much the armored battle tanks of their age. Okay, and I didn't want to make this slide all about numbers and kind of ratios. So I got some interesting picks here. I'll cover these in more detail in the next part. So what did elephant armor look like? So this is from my visit to Leeds Royal Armoury around 2010, so many years back. And Leeds Royal Armoury is one of the few places in the world, I think just two or three, maybe a couple of them are in India, who have got complete uh, restored versions of elephant armor. Now, and there are different kinds of elephant armor, so it's important to point out this is just one kind of elephant armor, which is known as a lamellar armor. Sorry for that. Let me grab some water. So lamellar armor basically means it's quite flexible. Okay, so if you look at this, and I'll show you close-up shots in the next part. So these are actually very small chains and metal plates which are kind of sewn together. Okay, and here you can see the tusk. So there aren't any tusk protectors here, but usually there are tusk protectors as well. And for the forehead of the elephant, for the part of the skull, you can see these two large globular kind of protectors, and you've got the ear, what are known as ear chamfrons, which are the armor protectors for the ear, which are again are a delicate and sensitive part. And this is the side view. So this kind of big rug-like or chadar-like thing which hangs on the elephant's back is actually known as a jhula. So the underneath the jhula, obviously we got armor, and the armor from the inside is actually, you can say there's an inner layer of coarse cloth or thick cotton fabric which protects the elephant's skin from the harsh and the sharp, the metal plates and chains. So you can see quite beautiful intricate armor. Again, this is partial armor. This was restored around 1949-50, and this armor's history is quite interesting because this was procured by Lord Clive's wife and transported to England, I think around 1800-1801. So I'll cover the different types of elephant armors in much more detail in the next couple of parts. So I hope this video has been interesting, and if you have found it interesting, please do remember to share, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next part. Thank you.